No, the bandwagon, as they say, was getting heavy. Everyone started to jump on the bandwagon again.
Portland is not in a position to try to come back, and he should just kind of leave that alone.
Stop being satisfied with mediocre performances.
I don't like it. Plain and simple, I really don't like it. An all-star game just shows how much they just kind of continue to placate the players and their lackadaisical efforts on the court.
You really sparked my interest, and I'm sure that of many others. Alister, Albert, thank you very much.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of Baseline to Baseline with Alister and Orane. I am, of course, Alister Albert, and we have right back with us Orane Buchanan from Jamaica. Welcome back. I know it's been a bit of a really tough and, difficult last few days for you guys over in Jamaica. First off, I'll just ask you a very straight question. How are you doing? How's everyone, family and everything?
I'm doing good. Fortunately for me, I'm not in Western Jamaica. Jamaica was absolutely demolished. I mean, places like Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, St. Anne, those places are in dire needs of supplies, dire need of help, and prayers goes out to everyone in Western Jamaica now, still recovering from Hurricane Melissa that tore up the country last week Tuesday. So, prayers out for those people.
Awesome. And I think what we tried to do in episode 2, I tried to make sure that was at the forefront of people's minds, just showed a little bit of footage of what happened and also shared some links. I think the government sent out, this appeal to go through supportjamaica.gov.jm, as their platform to be able to get donations, and any sort of recovery efforts that they're coordinating will be via that site. So contact, of course, if you want to make donations. This is still ongoing because the lives are still being affected. So if you want to do anything for that purpose, it's supportjamaica.gov.uk. But lovely to have you back. I was really hoping that you could be back for episode 3. Lots to catch up on because the NBA, of course, that train keeps going. So we're really happy to have you back. All right, so we're going to jump into the first topic we have here, as discussed, pre-production and everything. The Spurs. I think in the first episode you mentioned them as a team that you were really looking at, with Wemby being as dominant as he was an opening night. Since we've caught up since that first episode, they're off to a really tremendous start. They're 5-2 right now, but started off with the franchise best 5-0 initially before those last 2 games that they lost. What do you see coming out from San Antonio? Is Wemby going to continue at this level that he is? Are the Spurs going to be those contenders people are talking about? What do you think so far?
Well, I'm not sure about contenders. What I know for a fact is that San Antonio Spurs, they're playing really good basketball. And it was keen of me to really look at, say that this is a team that started with 5-0, the best record in their franchise. If we have to talk about the San Antonio Spurs, the list of greats will go on and on. Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, Tim Duncan, David Robinson. The greats, and to think that this San Antonio Spurs created a franchise record starting 5-0 says something about the organization. It's by no accident that teams like San Antonio Spurs, the Miami Heat, are what they call first-class organization. From top to base, very structured team, and whichever players come in for the San Antonio Spurs, they'll have to fall in line. So it's slightly surprising to me that this crop has started 5-2, 5-0 for the best franchise record. But when you think about the Spurs and their history, they know how to manage players, their coaches know how to coach players, so it's not entirely surprising. Wemby's leading from the front. This guy is
amazing.
This guy is something. When you have a 7'4", 7'3", 7'4" on a good day, type player, handling the ball like a point guard, running the paint like a power forward, and blocking shots like a center, you know how good, how dominant of a player this guy is, and his potential in the NBA. I think, proverbial, the sky's the limit. The sky's literally the limit
Literally.
for this guy. He can do every single thing on the floor, and it's just crazy talent. But the only thing I'm somewhat weird about is the amount of talent that he has around him. Does the Spurs have enough talent to surround Wemby so they can go deep? I mean, I see them as a team that can possibly make the playoffs. I mean, it's very early, but I see the Spurs as a team that can possibly make the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's my seed for them. Probably first, but
yeah. Go ahead. Yeah. So playoffs, you think are
I
the
would say
ceiling?
Spurs. For me, the Spurs they have enough to get out of this regular season. But then when you go in the postseason, it's a different ballgame. It's a different kettle of fish. The deeper teams normally proceed far in the playoffs. But the San Antonio Spurs team for now should cause some problem for teams in the regular season. And you'll have to be very good on your night to beat this Spurs team. They're young, they're vibrant, they are well coached, they know their roles. And whenever you're coming up against a team like that, it normally spells trouble.
That's it. And you're absolutely right about that. The Spurs, like you said, starting off with the franchise best record 5-0. And I think what this record bodes well for them, because the previous best start for them has been 4-0 seasons. That has happened 3 times previously, in 2013, 2017, and 2018, those seasons. And each time those teams had that 4-0 start, they went to they lost in the finals in 2013. They got to the Western Conference Finals against the Warriors in 2017.
Yeah.
And they were in the first round, ended up in the first round. So this start kind of foreshadows a playoff berth for this team for sure. And the average of about 55 wins in those last 3 seasons when they started 4-0. So this is a team definitely with this start, of course, with Wemby leading the way, 26 points, basically 25.6, 12.9 rebounds, 4.1 blocks, leading the league. This is a guy, like Orane articulated already. He does everything. He spreads the floor, he blocks shots, he rebounds, he intimidates, and he's just right there. The team itself is doing quite well in quite a lot of different categories, top 10 in quite a lot of the offensive categories, and between top 5 and top 10 in the defensive category. So they're second right now in defensive rating and 11th just out of the top 10 in offensive rating. So this is a team, like we're saying, even with some depth issues, like we're saying, maybe some what we'd say is popular depth players on their team. They're doing quite well, and this is of course to start the season. But as they go with the experience and Wemby hopefully staying healthy, they will be that problem you're talking about. I absolutely believe that, and they could make the playoffs for sure.
Yeah, I see. Teams will have to show up during the regular season to beat this team.
To beat them, yeah.
They have to show up to beat this team.
Definitely. So Wemby, continue what you're doing. The alien that you are, he's come in and embraced the alien moniker. I think on his shoes, his Nike shoes, he has a phrase that says, "Be unique every day," and he lives by that motto every time he's on the court. He's unique. There's no other talent like him that the NBA has ever seen.
But tell me something. You know your history, Alister.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a player like Wemby before?
No, not to this level.
Have you seen a player like Wemby before?
Not at all. We've seen guys who has his height. We've seen guys who could shoot like him and everything, but you've never seen that combination of of skill. You have a guy like when you think about his height, like Yao Ming, who was as dominant as he was, bigger than Wemby in terms of weight, but just as tall, 7'5", 7'5" thereabouts. But he didn't put that skill together. He was an under the rim player, block shots and everything, but he couldn't be outside dribbling the ball and doing what he is. Wemby is doing stuff like Kevin Durant, leading the fast break, putting the ball behind his back, crossing guys over, step back threes. We have never seen anything like Wemby at all. And, that's the thing about him. And I'm just hoping, fingers crossed for him, with health, he could stay on the court and continue to do what he's doing. Because I think it shows once he's on the court. When he got injured last year, the team basically tanked. Chris Paul was brought in there to kind of give him that guidance to get to the playoffs. And they were on that path. And as soon as he got injured, the team just kind of went downhill from there. So he is that MVP of the franchise. He is a potential MVP of this league. And once he could stay healthy, for sure, I think they could make the playoffs. I don't think they're maybe past the second round just yet. Maybe an upset in the first round, maybe. But we'll see. In my preseason power rankings, I had them as 15th. I had them really high, being able to make the playoffs. But right now, where they are with, I think they're like tied for third in the West right now. They've leapfrogged quite a lot of teams to this point, but let's see if they could continue that momentum and everything. So we started off with the Spurs, and I think the theme for this episode is hot starts, because the San Antonio Spurs have done that, and the next team we're going to segue really cleanly into is the Chicago Bulls. You know, this is another team who has started ridiculously hot. I think many people didn't have them as that. I, for one, definitely didn't think the Chicago Bulls could have started off the way that they have, with Kobe White as well injured with a calf injury. You know, talk about what you think about the Chicago Bulls. You're starting off 6-1. They're first in the East at the moment. Of course, it's just 7 games, but Josh Giddey is playing like, you know, he's like an MVP caliber himself, and this team is doing really good. What do you think about the Chicago Bulls so far?
I think they're in like some problem as well. Yeah. Josh Giddey, as you said, lead charge on this team. What I'm most pleasing with is that Josh Giddey is showing me things now that he should have done at OKC.
I'll get to that. There. Yeah.
But
yep.
The opportunity, but as you say, opportunity. Sometimes you're restricted with the team that you're on, so you have to play in the role that is defined by the coaches. Now he's in a position where the coaching staff has given him free license to do whatever he wants, and we're seeing Josh Giddey at his best now, dribbling, shooting the lights out in every arena. And this is the Josh Giddey that should have been in OKC Thunder. So I'm really pleased with that. But as I said, the depth, they are very good players. The surrounding staff, that is what it will boil down to. The East is wide open, as we know. For me, this is as open as the East has ever been. So if the Bulls can keep playing like this up until, say, January, February, then teams will start to take them very seriously. Because you say, I don't know when Kobe White will come back. That's another topic. And we see Josh Giddey now with the free license. Free license to do whatever you want, control of the offense. But how does Kobe White fit in now in that system whenever he comes back? Well, can he now play partnership with Josh Giddey?
Yeah, and on the Kobe White point, you know, in terms of what he's saying, I think there's a report right now from The Athletic, Joel Lorenzi, reporting that he will be back in the week commencing of the 16th of November. I think in that 3-game road trip that they're having, he will be coming back within that. So about a week and a half away, thereabout. He seems to be progressing really well. So like you say, yeah, when he comes back, that's going to be the real test for them. And I think what's important to note here is not just their start, but how they actually ended last season. So they were in the play-in. Of course, Miami had put them out and everything. You know, they didn't get through. They were 9th in the East. You know, it wasn't great for them in terms of trying to get into the playoffs. But the end of the regular season, the last 27 games, they went 17-10. You know, this is a team that's kind of like 500. But towards the end of the season, they really picked up. Josh Giddey was, averaging a near triple-double, 21 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists. Kobe White in those games about 24.5 points, 4.4 rebounds, etc. Nikola Vucevic, of course, he's a solid double guy, 17-10 thereabouts. So to answer your question of what it would be like with Kobe White coming back, you know, they've shown in those last 27 games that they have that sort of chemistry and they can kind of do that. But of course, to start the season, you know, not getting that momentum, Kobe White has to kind of warm up to the lineup again. You have guys like Matas Buzelis, the rookie last year, who's been dunking all over the place. You know, he's stepped up his game, and they've added guys like Ayo Dosunmi, who's been on the team before, but he's stepped up his game, averaging 16 points this year. Kevin Huerter, who they brought in from Sacramento, and Isaac Okoro coming over from Cleveland. These guys have really kind of stabilized. Has stabilized that team and kind of made everyone play within their positions really well. But I think Kobe White, of course, is an X factor for them. Starting off 6-1 right now, but coming back, he's shown last year he could work really well with Giddey. And to just kind of answer that last point that you made about Giddey in OKC, we saw some signs of this. You know, when he was the primary ball handler, he was like a triple-double threat for his first two seasons before he got traded. And then, of course, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander got into his MVP groove, taking a lot of the.
And then he had
and he had to take a back seat, and that kind of stymied his production, and you sort of saw him kind of losing his way. So with the Bulls, Billy Donovan, of course, has given him that free reign and everything. I think, even with this hot start, they are pretenders. They're not contenders. They'll probably make the playoffs, if they can kind of continue at this steady pace, and with all of the injuries in the East, they're one of those teams who could kind of make that positioning up, and hopefully they will not be in the play-in this year. But we as you say, their depth, I think, is an issue. They don't have that impact superstar player, even if Josh Giddey is kind of doing that right now. But I don't think they have enough to kind of really make it.
And you see, ego is a thing that I've seen kill championship teams before. I mean, we could think of many teams. I just want Kobe White to just slowly blend his way back into the team whenever he comes back from injury. No, you're not there. The team is playing very well, 6-1 after 7 games. Josh Giddey leading the offense. I wouldn't want him to come back now and just insert himself into their offensive line. Take some time to just get back into the integration of the team's offense and slowly blend in. Because if you come back and rush yourself and impose yourself, that is what I was looking for. Impose yourself on the team's offense, it could kill the aspirations of this team and the season
and the chemistry. And he's a gunner. Once he's come in, he's instant offense. From his time in Carolina as a college player, he's a guy who's impact offense. And last season we saw that blossom into what it is. And with a calf injury, that's a lingering injury that tends to really kind of continue to affect players as they go through the season. So as you're saying, he needs to come back, pace himself, try to find himself into the offense, not kind of force the issue, just kind of go with the flow. And these guys who've developed over the last couple of games, we have a Buzelis, as I mentioned, and the new guys coming in, Herter and Okoro, who kind of give a little bit of spacing as well to that team. It allows them to kind of do what they're doing right now. So it's really nice to see the Bulls, have this sort of resurgence right now. But let's see what happens. It's still really early in the season. Let's see what their record looks like by Christmas time. At least it's way too early to kind of anoint them as any sort of contender right now. As you talk about someone coming into the offense or into a team, reintegrating themselves and taking their time and just kind of falling in line. Your favorite player, LeBron James, the Los Angeles Lakers. Of course, they've started hot, man. They've come out. Luka Doncic is just going crazy. Austin Reaves is at this point is a definite all-star, the way he's playing, and even in the MVP talks. The Lakers have been interesting so far, 7-2 to start the season, and second in the West right now. Of course, all the talk has been, LeBron James. When is he going to come back? How is he going to look? There's actually been quite a lot of talk about they should just trade him. He shouldn't come in and try to mess things up, because the production that you're getting from guys like Rui Hachimura and of course Reaves and Luka Doncic, they're thinking his ball dominance will affect the chemistry of what's going on. What do you think about that? Of course, he's your favorite player. Do you think he could adapt? Do you think he could take that back seat? How do you see LeBron fitting into the situation?
LeBron James has adapted to every situation there is in the NBA. There's nothing in the league that this guy can't do. Right. If you tell him to play the point, he'll play the point. If you tell him to play the 2, the shooting guard, he'll play it. 1 through to 5, LeBron James can play that. LeBron James is not the problem.
Right.
The players around LeBron James know. Anyone that has followed LeBron James' career closely, if you show that you have the ability, LeBron James will give you the keys.
Right.
LeBron James, during his time with Cleveland, when he was playing alongside Kyrie Irving, gave him the freedom. When he was playing with Kevin Love, he gave Kevin Love the freedom.
Right.
Anthony Davis, he tried his best to give Anthony Davis the keys. But with injuries and things around that nature, things didn't materialize. Luka Doncic has already shown, because even before Doncic came to the Lakers, LeBron James and JJ Redick, before JJ Redick became the head coach of Lakers, while they were on the Mind the Game podcast, you could tell how much respect they have for this guy. So they know that, all right, we have Luka Doncic, let him go. Let him cook. You can cook.
You can't hold
LeBron
him
James
back.
believes in Anthony.
Mhm.
LeBron James believes in Austin Reaves. He knows the talent that Austin Reaves has. So I think LeBron James will be wise enough, and I just save
You're
this clip.
hoping.
You see, when LeBron James comes back,
Uh-huh.
LeBron James comes back, Austin Reaves continues to play at this level. LeBron James will be the third scoring option for the LA Lakers.
Right.
If these two continue like this, he'll be the third scoring option for the LA, because he has shown time and time again, worse now in the latter part of his career. I said it at the first episode. If Lakers are going to depend on LeBron James to come and give you 25, 8, and 7 every night, they're in trouble.
They're in trouble.
This is what Lakers and LeBron James want. Doncic is going to do Doncic things. Averages around 25, 26 there around every night. If they can get Austin Reaves to 23, 24, that puts the Lakers in very good business to make a serious push this offseason. And I think that is what LeBron James wants. He can be a facilitator. People always argue with LeBron James, oh, he's a pass-first player and things around that nature. We'll see the true LeBron James, the playmaker, the quarterback of this team, if these two continue to play like this. Because he doesn't need to shoulder the weight now in the regular season. When the playoffs comes around and things get serious, if it has to go through LeBron James in the offense, he will do it. He can do it. There's not a defensive scheme in the NBA now that LeBron James hasn't seen. So it's not like teams can stop him. Teams probably can, what they do is try to contain him, but they can't stop him. So we've seen it before. So it's just for LeBron James to be fair to these two guys for as long as possible. Get some rest on the court whenever you can, and just have a go at possibly the last big push for another championship this season.
It's amazing that you say that, and of course, the LeBron detractors and everyone who are really going to watch and scrutinize what they're doing. So like everyone is already saying, he's just trying to observe what's going on, and if he doesn't like what the situation is, and he'll look for a trade and everything. And that might be true. Who knows? Rich Paul, is going to make sure that his guy is in the best situation that he can. But if you look at every situation that LeBron has been in and has been successful, he has been next to a star player, right? So he's been in a team that has another dominant ball player, that he would need to be able to work with. He has two. There's absolutely no real reason for LeBron to want to leave the situation that he's in right now. So I think it's a matter of LeBron, like you say, fitting into what the situation is here. I think there's a picture out on social media somewhere where there's a picture where the cameraman just got the angle really good, where it's Luka Doncic walking to the bench, Austin Reaves walking to the bench, and LeBron third. So they're just in this line, and it was like just to try to it's like just a microcosm of what their situation is right now, where LeBron just needs to be third in line. And that picture just kind of really encapsulates what the situation is for LeBron. I think what most people have to understand is, hey, LeBron has never been in this situation before. So he also has to make that mental adjustment to realizing that, hey, listen, I've been this guy, but these are the guys that I've always wanted. This is the sort of production I've always wanted around me. So I do need to defer. I do need to recognize what the situation is. So him coming back, I think they're saying somewhere between the middle of this month that he will be looking to come back. He's starting to ramp up at practice, going through 5-on-5 and everything. Hopefully he'll be able to kind of do what he needs to do where that's concerned. Luka Doncic so far this season is averaging over 40 points. Over 40 points, 11 rebounds, 9 assists. Same, Austin Reaves is not 40, not quite 40, but over 30 points averaging this season already. And Rui Hachimura is being really solid and everything. But the interesting thing is, with those stats, the last 12 games that the Los Angeles Lakers played without LeBron James, they were 6-6. They had a 500 record, but the production was very similar, where you have Luka already averaging 40 points, 11 and 9, the same identical record stat line, 40, 11 and 9. Austin Reaves averaged 27.9, 6.6 and 8, and Rui averaged almost 20 points a game. So these guys know what it's like to produce without LeBron being there. And although it was an average record, they've shown that they can produce and do what needs to be done. So I think, they're in a good position to continue as is. and understand what the new reality is, and LeBron coming in and fit into that situation, I think it's only an additive. Some people will say, he's going to kind of make it a little toxic. A lot of people are saying that, he's going to come in, he's going to dominate the ball and take it away from Reaves and everything. And of course, when you add someone who averages for his career 26, 27 points, he will have the ball in his hand. So there will be some points deductions from Luka and Austin Reaves. But as a ball handler, this is a guy who could kind of get guys in the spots that they need to and everything. And I'm just hoping his attitude, his professionalism, and everything just shows as it needs to for the Los Angeles Lakers. Because once he jumps in, I think they could be even more dominant than they've shown already.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe so. LeBron James has seen it all. He's experienced now. I mean, I don't see why LeBron should want to shoulder the weight. He has two guys that has proven so far that they can. So I just think it's for him to just give them free license and just watch them cook.
Yeah, I agree with that. So yeah, the guys are showing up. DeAndre Ayton, of course, we need to do a little bit of a spotlight of our Caribbean guy right there. DeAndre Ayton is playing awesome. Last season in Portland, it seemed like a really down year for him. And coming off of leaving the Phoenix Suns, it kind of felt like, his career progression and trajectory in the positive direction that he was going into when they made the finals and, being that force that he was. It seems like he's returning to that. And JJ Redick, I think, has infused him with some confidence. Playing with a guy like Luka Doncic who could get him the ball and space the floor for him and everything. He's kind of doing really good, averaging 17.5 points per game right now, 8 rebounds. I think he could get those rebounds up a little bit. 8 rebounds for a guy, who's as big as he is, he could probably do a little better. But
that's what he's there for.
And that's what he's there for. They brought him in.
On the offense.
Yeah, that's what they brought him in for. And they said, just play this role for us. Be defensive, get those boards, block some rebounds, be a deterrent in the paint, and finish your baskets at the rim. And so far, he's doing that. We think we could probably be a little better on the rebound, on the boards. But you know what? They're 7-2. The formula is working. Continue doing what you're doing, DeAndre. We're really happy for you. You're getting back into the spotlight of being what people expected of you, of a number 1 overall pick. So Bahamas, be proud of your boy right there. He's doing really, really good for us right now, for the region and everything. So what I'm going to do right here, I'm going to take a little break because we have, we just need to kind of sort out some technical stuff right here, right now. But we're going to take a little break and get right back to the last topic of the day, which is going to be an interesting one, which has been in the news for quite some time. We have the Ja Morant situation. Of course, we spoke about that in episode 1, and we're just going to touch that really quickly, and end off the episode. So stay with us right now. Baseline to Baseline with Alister and Orane coming right back at you. All right, and welcome back to Baseline with Alister and Orane. Of course, welcome back to Orane, my co-host. He's back from his little break, as he was well deserved after Hurricane Melissa and everything. We're really happy to have him back here with us. Talking hoops and talking about all the trending stories going on in the league right now. So, of course, in the first little segment, first block A, we spoke a little bit about the San Antonio Spurs, how hot they've been, and then we went on into the Chicago Bulls, and them being first in the East. We kind of assessed that situation and hoping, they'd be able to continue where they are. We don't think they're contenders, but we think, they could actually be a little bit of a competitive force in the East, in a weakened East with all of the injuries. Of course, we then spoke about the Los Angeles Lakers and what we think, will happen when LeBron James comes back. We're not on the trade him bandwagon. I think I would love to see him just play out the season, and then let's see what his career ends like with the Lakers, and if he decides to continue his career, go wherever he wants to. But I would love to see what he looks like with this squad and the productivity that they've had this year. And of course, what I would love to end this episode with, of course, is the ever-present topic of Ja Morant. Ja Morant has been in the news, from the time the season has started. You're very bullish on him in episode 1, where you're saying you're really looking for an MVP type season from Ja Morant, to really make waves for the Memphis Grizzlies this year. And of course, since then, it's kind of been story after story, issues with Kendrick Perkins online. Then we have this issue where after they lost to the Lakers, his engagement on the court, and an issue where he had this, spat with his coach in the locker room, issues about whether or not, there's the team chemistry is working, the substitution patterns from the coach and everything. And it seems there's just been trade rumor after trade rumor. Every couple of minutes, I get another report from NBA Central on Twitter saying that this team is interested in Ja Morant, or they're monitoring the situation. The latest one is the Clippers. They're monitoring the situation of Ja Morant and probably want to bring him in if there's an opportunity to do that. So with that, I'd love to get your thoughts on what you've seen about, from Ja Morant over the last couple of days. Of course, I know you had a lot going on, but what do you think about all of the stories since your proclamation of thinking that he should be an MVP this year, or in that conversation? What do you think?
I don't think it's anything to read too much into. I mean, we've seen this over time with superstars. I mean, Kobe Bryant asked for a trade out of LA when he was young there. I mean, Allen Iverson had his problems, his fair share problem with the 76ers. I mean, it comes with those type of players that I call bulldogs. Right. Ja Morant is a dog. See how he plays on the court. Ja Morant is just in a situation where the coach is trying to implement a system. I mean, the system involves Ja Morant having the ball less in his hands. I mean, we can see why Ja Morant is upset. I mean, all throughout his years, the offense runs through Ja Morant. I mean, he runs the show. I mean, he's not used to coming up the court and then just being parking in the corner. I mean, so I think it's something that he has expressed himself already. I mean, they have suspended him for one game, which I think was warranted. I mean, they say conduct detrimental to team. Yeah, I mean, okay. Fine, they asked him about the game. He said that you're going to ask the coaches about that. So I think they'll iron it out, and I mean, everything would be good with these two. I think everything should be good if both parties come to an understanding and say, Coach, I don't like the way the offense is going right now. I think some changes to make. And I mean, if the head coach and the management can understand his perspective and where he's coming from, I think the Grizzlies should be fine. And players like Ja Morant, this is sometimes the fuel that they need to just reignite their flame and let everyone know that, hey, I'm the man inside Memphis Grizzlies. So I just think that it's early in the season and they should be all right.
Right. Okay.
They should be all right.
Oh, that's interesting, and yeah, I think a lot of people are watching that situation really closely, like you say, and you would like to think, yeah, it's really early on in the season. There's a lot of ironing out that needs to happen of an offense. They've been through training camp, yes, but Ja Morant is also coming off of an injury. He was kind of getting his way back in. There's quite a lot of changes on the team, roster moves, guys not there anymore, and everything. So he's finding his feet in this whole situation. So you can't expect him to just be flying out of the gate straight away, as he's trying to understand the system. What I will say, though, is the Memphis Grizzlies, for quite some time, I think it's maybe over about 10 years now, they were probably one of the teams that were at the front of the analytics movement. and they were really into advanced stats and looking at things in from the statistical standpoint, where I think they brought in a GM at one point. His name was John Hollinger, I think. I'll correct that if that's incorrect. And he was previously a writer for one of these news websites, and he was an advanced stats guy. And it's like, this is a guy who's never had GM experience, but they brought him in to use his analytics as, you know, what manages the team. From that, it seems like this new coach right now, he's leaning really heavily into the analytics. And what has been said in some of the reports is that, you know, he's using substitution patterns and very tight time dissemination within the roster resource allocation, if you kind of want to use a business term, you know, how they're using their guys and their minutes spread. And it's kind of messing up the substitution patterns that Ja Morant is used to. So when he gets the ball and, you know, he's on the on the court, the substitutions that are being made, it's not something that he's quite familiar with yet. Jaren Jackson Jr., I think they're saying, you know, he also is having a little bit of a down year. So it seems like everyone is being affected by what's going on. But the coach is saying that, you know, you're the leader of this team, and if, you know, you're not showing the right engagement, everyone will follow in that same pattern as well. So hopefully, like you're saying, they can make it up, and, you know, they could do what they need to do. I think, yeah. Yeah, I think Carmelo Anthony on his podcast said, you know, listen, dude, like, where else are you gonna go and get the free reign that you have right now? You're the franchise star. Stay there, you know, stay there and just kind of work it out with the team. Everything is just there for you. But of course, with this discussion and all of the trade situations that have been coming up and trade speculation, the question that I wanted to ask today is, if he were to be traded, what are the 3 destinations that you think would be most suitable for Ja? I'm not sure if you had a chance to really think about it, but if you had to think hypothetically, the 3 teams that would be best suited to get Ja and really progress, which are the 3 teams you think it would be?
It would be hard. The only 2 that I mean, I studied the teams, I studied everything. I think the Rockets, if you have to push me, the Rockets one with KD, I mean, Amin Thompson and those Alperen Sengun, those young guys around them. The Sacramento Kings, having him play alongside Russell Westbrook, Sabonis, and guys like that. And the 3rd team, I mean, you have to twist my arm. I mean, it was tough. I mean, probably the Bulls with what they have going on.
The Bulls. Yeah, that was the team that was mentioned as well. They're actually monitoring his situation, because if you insert Ja to that lineup, you know, that's some explosivity that they don't have right now. That's a dynamic that they actually need. And, you know, that would actually be a really good call for them as well. The 3 teams I would like to pick up, here are these ones. The Milwaukee Bucks. Just this afternoon, Carmelo Anthony said the same thing. I did not hear his podcast. This is not me just leeching off of what he said. I actually think, you know, them losing Dame, them losing Jrue Holiday the season before, and being in a structure where you have another guy who is, you know, an MVP, he's won a championship. And one of the things that has been said about Ja Morant is he hasn't had a vet. He hasn't had someone to really guide him and kind of keep him in check and keep him, you know, accountable for his actions. If he were to move, I think the Milwaukee Bucks would be an awesome place for him to end up. But of course, it depends on what the trade package could be and everything. But him and next to Giannis, that lob threat and, you know, him attacking the rim and everything, I think that would be a really, really great thing. The only thing with that is being able to have enough shooting around them to be able to open up the floor and spacing for them. That would be the only deterrent for that addition of Ja Morant into the Milwaukee Bucks. But I can't imagine what a lineup of that aggressiveness of Giannis and Ja Morant working together. That's my top one. The second one is, I think a lot of people have said this, him and Anthony Edwards. Could you imagine what that would be in Minnesota? Ja Morant and Anthony Edwards together. That would be something crazy that everyone will need to deal with as well. But of course, well, Anthony Edwards last season, you know, he took and made the most threes in the NBA. So he's a floor spacer in himself right now. But having another guy who could facilitate the ball, of course, Mike Conley Jr. is the point guard right now, although he's coming off the bench now. You know, he's not that guy anymore. But having someone like Ja Morant that is happy to facilitate, this is a guy who averages almost like eight assists a game. You know, with an Anthony Edwards, I think that would be like That would be crazy. That would be dynamite. As much as it is, they are individually together. That would be really good. And my third one is the Rockets, as you mentioned, him next to
I
KD
see him picking there.
and these guys. And I think in all these three situations, I think coaching is really important. So you have the vets and guys who who are really dominant in the league right now, but you have a coaching structure and culture that will keep them. When we speak about culture, another one that has come up really often is the Miami Heat. That's another team people are saying, boy, Ja, go to Miami, be with Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra. They have that culture and the discipline that will keep him in check. That is true, but we're seeing him fighting against leadership right now. So I'm not sure how that's really going to work. And we saw what it was like for him in Memphis in clubs. You think him being down in Miami is going to be any better for Ja Morant? I'm not sure. That might be really good. So I'm not really too keen on Miami for him. I think he needs to be in a place where he could really focus and everything. And just last one, I think the Orlando Magic, him maybe reuniting with Desmond Bain. Jamal Mosley is a really good coach in Orlando, and him next to Paolo maybe as well. That's another nice little lightning matchup as well in the East. So Ja Morant, of course, he's been top of the headlines in the NBA for the last couple of days. Everyone is on Ja Morant trade watch at the moment. So we'll see what happens. But we here have given you our top 3 destinations for Ja Morant, and we were just hoping he could turn it around. This is really a young season. Like Orane said in episode 1, this is a guy who is MVP caliber if he's there and healthy and can help his team. And we're hoping to see him turn it around and do what he needs to do. So, once again, this is Baseline to Baseline with Alister and Orane. Thank you very much for keeping up with us and listening to what we had to say. I hope you enjoyed what we had to say here today. Like and subscribe on YouTube. You could get us on Spotify. Apple Podcasts is coming really soon. We're having some little technical issues with the admin on Apple's end. We are actually in touch right now to try to get that sorted there. So we're going to be on Apple Podcasts really soon. But get us on Spotify. Watch us on Instagram. Watch us on YouTube. There's more coming your way from us right here. And like I said, we're going to have guests and everything. We're speaking to some people right now who I think is going to be really good for the podcast, and really hoping that you stay with us and watch what we're going to do. So to end episode 3, Orane, take it easy, man. Continue to do what you're doing over there in Jamaica, your family and everyone. Support jamaica.gov.uk if you still want to do any donations to the recovery efforts. Let's continue to shout that out for everyone over there. And we shall see you in episode 4 coming next week. We're going to have another really good one for us as the days go on. So Orane, thanks, man. Catch you soon.
Bless up, man.
That's it.